Hi, my name is Liz and welcome to my channel, Creating Inner Beauty. If we haven't met before, I'm an intuitive transformational coach for empathic and intuitive women. And what I would like to do today in honor of the first day of spring, because that's the day that I'm filming this in 2022, is to start a new series here on my channel that's all about healing with the goddesses. And this is something that has been inspired by the opportunity I had over this past week to host my first Goddess Circle. Now, that's something that I've always been wanting to do for a long time. I've participated in goddess circles in the past for myself and found them very healing, found them very transformational. And I was super excited to be able to host one at my local metaphysical shop. And because spring was just around the corner this week as I hosted the circle, and I'm filming this today, the focus of our circle was the Goddess Gaia and spring energies and manifesting new beginnings. And it was a really wonderful experience with a really great group of women. And I thought that what I would like to do here is take and summarize some of the teachings that came through from Gaia on my channel so that every month as I do a new goddess circle, I can share with you also some of the points that were important to take away from the month's featured goddess. So, as I mentioned, the goddess this month, because it's spring and Mother Earth is waking up from her long winter, is Gaia. And here's just one artistic representation of her from the Goddess Power Oracle deck. And Gaia is basically the representation of Mother Earth. She is a Greek goddess. She's from the Greek pantheon, and she's a very early primordial mother goddess. So her mythology is that before Gaia, there was just chaos. And then Gaia was birthed from the chaos, and there was just Gaia. And then after some time, she decided, hey, she's probably a little bored, I'm guessing. She wanted to do things. She wanted to create and experience things. So she decided that she would create from herself Uranus, and after she created him, the two of them mated, and they created all of the other Greek gods and goddesses. And so from the myth of Gaia, from the story of Gaia, from the energies of Gaia, we can take several things that help us as women on our healing journeys. The first thing is that the power to create the lives that we want, the things that we want to experience, doesn't lie outside of ourselves. It's not dependent on outside factors. It's ultimately something that we create from within ourselves. And much like Gaia, who created the whole world, the whole rest of the Greek god and goddesses pantheon, from herself, from within herself, we start the creation within ourselves. So we have to own our own power in regard to that. And the way that we create isn't by looking outside of ourselves and deciding what it is that society tells us that we might want, or is predicated on earning things from the outside. Instead, the process of manifestation, the process of creation, is going inward and figuring out what we want to feel and how we can create that from ourselves, and then letting that impact our external world and draw those experiences in toward us. So Gaia as a goddess, a goddess is in her receptive feminine energy. She experiences the emotions, experiences the things that she wants to within herself, and then she calls forth those things from the external world. So that's the first lesson that Gaia has to teach us. So really kind of think about how that plays out in your own life. Are you putting yourself in the experiences, working on the healing that you need to do to be able to create the emotions you want to experience first within yourself, and then finding it coming forward to you? So that's the first lesson that we have from Gaia. The second lesson is that Gaia honors divine timing and the unfolding process that occurs in manifestation, right? So Gaia goes through cycles. Mother Earth goes through cycles. We're not always like, we plant the seed and it immediately blossoms. We plant the seed, and then all of these different factors come into play. And over time, when the time is right, when all the factors come together correctly, the flower blossoms or the tree blossoms and grows and then gives us its fruit or blossoms into a beautiful flower. And so I think that there's a lot to learn there in regards to when we have a goal, when we have an intention that we would like to manifest. We can't expect it necessarily to manifest just immediately, although sometimes that can happen. We have to trust that everything is working together to make that manifestation unfold in the perfect, right, divine conditions and timing. And now another aspect of that, and I thought this was an analogy that occurred to me that I was kind of excited about, was sometimes when we're manifesting things seem like they're falling apart before they can come together. Or we might have to deal with and heal some really challenging heal from some really challenging experiences that we've had or emotions that we feel before we can get to the place that we fully embody what it is that we want to create and experience in our external world. And what that made me think of is that sometimes there are certain plants and flowers that the way that they spread in the world is that they drop their seeds, and then something happens, like a bird or a squirrel or a chipmunk or some other small animal comes along and eats that seed, and it goes through that creature's digestive process. It ends up in the shit, excuse my language. And as the bird is flying around or the creature travels, over its territory on the earth, that animal defecates and leaves the seed in the new place. And then that's fertilized, it goes into the ground, and then eventually that tree or that flower or that plant can reblossom and blooms, and it creates a whole new cycle, right? So I think that is a really important lesson that we can learn from Gaia, that sometimes things don't happen in this very clear linear path, and we might need to go through this very strange circular or not linear trajectory to get where we need to go. And sometimes we have to deal with some shit. Sometimes things fall apart. It can feel like our life is over. It can feel like we're just wading through darkness or through heaviness in terms of our emotions before we get to the place where we've transformed, we've grown enough where the seeds can start to take bloom. And so I feel like that's a very important lesson that Gaia can teach us, especially in regard to new beginnings and manifestation. Now, third lesson is that Gaia is always honoring herself and her needs. She's not in a constant state of summer or of blossoming and blooming. Gaia knows that there is a time for rest, for rejuvenation, for going inward, for letting the old die off, releasing what doesn't serve us, and then a time for new growth, and then a time for eventual blossoming and then harvesting. So there's that cycle within the seasons that Mother Earth goes through. And she doesn't force it to be any other way. That's just the way it is. She has her cycle, she honors the cycle, and we go along with that as humans. And I think that that's such a powerful lesson for all of us as people, but especially for women, because as women, we often have competing and multiple needs drawing on us. And we may have been given the message growing up or just in society that we must constantly provide and give to other people. But in fact, by honoring our own cycles, honoring our own needs, we can more productively and easily and gracefully and with less strain to ourselves and resentment for other people find the right balance for us, right? So when we take that time for self-care, for being able to say no when we need rest, for giving ourselves rest, etc., we then can move forward and give outwards in a much more beautiful and wonderful kind of way. And then lastly, Gaia understands that everything is connected, and within Gaia, everything is connected. When we think about ecosystems, you know, an ecosystem is very delicately balanced. If you introduce something that's not supposed to be there, or change the weather conditions, or that sort of thing, it can throw a whole ecosystem off. And that's because everything is intimately connected within the earth and in these ecosystems. And so I think that that is a very important lesson for us as humans and as women to think about as well, because we are connected to everyone else energetically. Our actions impact other people, other people's actions impact us. Our energy impacts other people's energies impact us. So the awareness of that and making sure that we're keeping those things in balance, both in terms of giving and receiving energetically and emotionally, and making sure that we're creating a healthy ecosystem around us is very important. But also the concept that as we heal ourselves as women, as humans, as we increase our vibration, bring in more in love, bring in more lightness into our lives, we are impacting the communities around us. So knowing that if you're on a spiritual journey, on a healing journey, you do this not only for yourself, but for your ancestors, for the people that come from you, and for your community as a whole, you are creating a positive impact. So I think that's a very powerful lesson that Gaia has for us as well. So those are the main 4 things that really came up for me when I thought about the energy of Gaia and what she has to teach us in our day-to-day lives as women. And that's a really kind of just to say a few words about how I like working with goddess energy for myself and for my work with clients. There's a couple of different ways that it comes up for me. First of all, I like to look at and experience goddess as deity, as energies to connect with and to call on for support, for wisdom, for guidance, for working together on manifestation and creation, much like angels and guides for those who resonate with those energies as well. Then I also like to look at their mythologies and their stories and to think about what those stories and mythologies have to teach us, what lessons we can take away from them. And then lastly, I like to think about each goddess as representing an energy that I have within myself and that I can embody. So for me, Gaia is this beautiful maternal creator or creatrix energy that as I sit and connect with her and think about how I can embody her, I bring her wisdom to my creations and bring her maternal nature to my experiences and my relationships. So it was very beautiful to be able to connect with her energy through my Goddess Circle this week, and to have that be a part of my experience of this first day of spring. And I hope that by just thinking about these lessons and talking about Gaia in this video, that you can touch and begin to feel a little bit of her energy coming through to you as well. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you found connecting with the Goddess Gaia something that was helpful and healing to you. And I look forward to seeing you in my next video and next month in my next Goddess Healings video as well. I'll see you later.